Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to show you how I restored this mid-century modern dresser that I found at the thrift store. As you can see, some of the finish was peeling off, so keep watching to see what was underneath. I started this project off by putting on some Netflix and using my carbide scraper since some of the finish was already flaking off. You can see there was another layer of a yellowish finish underneath the top layer of the brown finish, and then the orange splotches that is coming through is the bare wood. I'm not really sure what the top layer of this finish was. Was it some sort of glaze since it's transparent? Whatever it was pretty satisfying to scrape off and sometimes came off in large chunks like this. If anyone knows what this finish was, please let me know in the comments. Here's how the dresser looked after I was done scraping. I decided to strip the drawers instead of scraping them since they were curved or had slats and I didn't want to risk damaging any of the wood on the drawer fronts. Here's how the drawers looked after letting the stripper sit for about 15 minutes. I scraped the first layer of stripper off with a plastic scraper and that removed most of the top layer finish. I did a second coat of stripper, which was able to remove most of the second layer of the finish. Then I finally came in with some mineral spirits and steel wool to remove the leftover stripper. Next, I moved on to repair one of the back casters that had broken off when I bought the dresser. I used a bunch of wood glue and clamped it to dry. Off camera, I used a rubber mallet to put the caster back into place in the existing hole in the bottom of the dresser. I cut a piece of 3/4 inch plywood to cover that area, added glue, clamped it to drill pilot holes, and then screwed it into place. Next up, I used 120 grit sandpaper to remove any finish that was left on the dresser. Right here's when I discovered that the dresser was solid wood. I hadn't really paid attention, but if you look closely at the edge of the top, you can see the grain lines continue from the top of the dresser to the side, which means it's solid wood and not veneer. When I was sanding the drawers too, I found out that they were also solid wood, which made me really happy to know that this was a pretty good quality dresser. I used 120 grit sandpaper on my oscillating multi-tool to get in any areas that my orbital sander couldn't reach. If you don't have a multi-tool, you can also wrap sandpaper around an old credit card to get in those corners and hard to reach areas. Looking back here, you can still see finish in the grain lines, which would lead to a headache for me later on. There were 2 chips near the bottom of the dresser that I filled with stainable wood filler and sanded flush once it was dry. The drawers with the slats had a bunch of sawdust and finish stuck in the grooves, so I used a denture brush that I got from the dollar store to get most of that stuff out, and that ended up working pretty well. Next I used a small flathead screwdriver to get any of the remaining material out of the grooves that the denture brush couldn't get. I wiped everything down with water to make sure the surfaces were clean and ready for stain. I used the same dark walnut stain that I used in my other mid-century modern dresser video. You can see how splotchy the stain is because there's still some of that old finish stuck in the wood grain. I noticed it early on, but I decided to just go ahead and stain everything, thinking that a second coat would cover it up, and that was definitely not the case, and it was a big mistake. I had to sand everything down again and start over. Luckily, I hadn't stained the drawers at the same time and gave them another good sanding before staining, and you can see that the stain isn't blotchy on the drawers. Learn from my mistake, and as soon as you notice your stain is blotchy, make sure you sanded down everything again and removed all that old finish. Here's a little footage of my suffering while resanding the entire dresser frame. It took a really long time and a lot of sandpaper, so again, learn from my mistake and at least stop staining once you see that the stain is swatchy. Several hours later, it was finally time for round 2 of stain. This time it looked gorgeous, and I instantly loved the rich dark color and how the wood grain really popped. I sealed everything with a few coats of semi-gloss oil-based polyurethane and a chip brush. Here's how it looked after a few coats of polyurethane. It was really smooth and shiny, and I was really happy with the result. I had one last repair to make on one of the drawer slides. Wood had chipped off on the front and back, making it loose. I unscrewed it and used kwikwood to fill the entire gap. I lost the footage of me putting the kwikwood on the drawer slide, but I chose kwikwood because it's really strong, it hardens quickly, and I could drill new holes for the screws through the kwikwood. Once it hardened, I sanded it to shape it a little better and drilled new screw holes in each end and put it back into place. Now it's time to test it out and go to the final review. I still can't get over how pretty the top is. It's kind of hard to capture the true color on video, but it's a really rich dark walnut color that I think really fits the dresser. I spray painted the original hardware a brass color and put new hardware on the top drawers since some of the original pulls were missing. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.